All right, welcome to Truth Bomb. I'm Jay Scott, aka Crypto Cowboy.
Hey, Sandy here, Freedom Faith Warrior. Mugs up.
All right, guys, mugs up. Let's get ready for some Truth Bomb. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. How you doing today, Sandy?
Doing great, doing great. It's a little hot here, a little hot.
Well, it's perfect here in Montana. Now is when we reap the rewards. It's like we suffer a lot of the year in the cold and stuff, but it's like 75, 80 degrees, no humidity, nice gentle breeze, perfectly blue eggshell blue skies.
Must be nice.
Well, it is nice.
92 degrees and humidity at 80% here.
Oh my God, there you are. Well, welcome to the Truth Bomb Show. We've got a good show today. Actually, we're going to talk about a couple different interesting topics today. First, I'm going to talk about, do we really have a shot to do as well as our parents did as far as, financially goes? And then we're going to switch gears and talk a little bit about global warming or not. I'm not sure. But these two topics and our show today is brought to you by... Freedom Life 3.0, which we give you the intersection of radical health, spirituality, alternative investment profiles so you can escape the system. And we really, the Truth Bomb Show, though, is really about bringing you information and topics that we're thinking, what's behind that? We may not know. You may or may not know. Maybe you do. Let us know in the comments if you do, or what you think about the topics, and let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to talk about.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, let's be talking about Billy Joel. I love this little quote. This is going to set this off. Let's see if I'm going to play this and see. This is the middle of the video, but this is the song Allentown. All right, love that song. So my topic today, we're going to be talking about finances, and I'm going to be talking about what I think is it's really a hidden tax. It's a hidden theft that has been around for a long time, and it kind of flies under the radar, and it's really inflation or debasement of our money by the Fed. And it's really one of my really central core themes about why I got into crypto, about why I'm really interested in economics and finance, because it's interesting. I'm going to go into some history today, and it's actually going to be a two-part thing. I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff today. Hopefully you guys like it. It's a little bit of history about money and about economics, and we'll just see how that goes. But really the point of it is I'll just kind of, lead with the end, and that is the reason I don't think that we're doing as well as our parents, and I don't think our kids' outlook is as great as even ours, is because of the way that the Federal Reserve was set up, the way that we were taken off the gold standard, and it allows governments all over the world, it's not just the US, to print money whenever they want and debase the currency. So in dollar terms, we're just losing every year. So with that in mind, let's talk a little bit about some of this. But I liked that clip because it really showed, this was back in the 80s, where they were complaining about not having enough jobs, and the Rust Belt, where a lot of the factory jobs were sent overseas, and these guys were standing in line, filling out forms. And I thought to myself, even back when I was starting out in my career, it's like, wow, am I going to be standing in line, filling out forms in the unemployment line? What's it going to be like? I literally grew up in Montana, but I just felt like there was limited opportunity here, and I had to move to the big city. So I got in my car and I drove to the East Coast and landed in Washington, D.C. area. And I did have a lot more opportunity there, and I was able to get a good corporate job and was able to start adding to a 401k at the time. And so I felt, when I look at my kids today who are really struggling, one with a college degree, a law degree, and then one without a college degree, trying to struggle in this economy and get jobs. And, I kind of lucked out. But in fact, now I've been lucky. My dad did really well. I haven't done as well as my dad, and we'll see if my kids can do even as well as I've done. Hopefully, there's a lot of time left. But, I think because of the way our financial system is set up in our economy, it's going to be kind of hard. So let me go back to sharing my screen a little bit. So we talk about money and debasement. So I'm sure you guys have heard. So Sandy, you've heard the term "money is the root of all evil," right? And it comes from a Bible passage. And I don't know if you knew this. You probably knew this, but a lot of people say that money is the root of all evil. But the Bible passage actually says that for the love of money is the root of all evil. I think that's 1 Timothy, correct, by the way.
Yes.
For the love of money, right? So when you put money first. Now, but so money itself isn't good or evil. It's a medium of exchange. It's a store of value. So a little bit of history here. So what I like about it is if things started off in the bar, I'm going to go way back to the history here. Things started off as barter, right? So back in ancient times, before there was money, we just bartered things. So if I've got some apples and you want bread, but they want the butcher's meat, you've got this multiple, you can't exchange one thing for another. People want different things. So that's why money was created. And it allows people that have disparate wants and they want different things to be able to trade this commodity, which could have been shells or wheat or whatever people, agreed was for the exchange. They would agree on this and say, okay, these shells, I'll give you 10 shells for this, apples, barrel of apples or whatever. Well, that worked for a while. But again, what they found was that precious metals eventually sort of won out. And what you have here is money also is a measurement, and it's a measurement of value the same way as that a scale is, or a ruler or a clock. And it measures the value of what these products and services are. And people they agree on this. And so you have to have this fixed value. So you have to say that this amount of shell or this amount of gold coin is worth this amount, and everyone has to agree on that. And that's the way it was in history. What's interesting is I love this example. It's like time is consistent too. We all know that there's 60 minutes in an hour and there's 60 seconds in a minute. But imagine if time was not fixed. And one day, you had 50 minutes an hour. The next day there were 80 minutes. I mean, life would be chaotic. How would we be able to deal with that? Well, I'm coming to a place here because if you think about it, money at times has been fixed to the price of gold. And at times like now, it's not. It's not a fixed value. So just like time would cause chaos if it wasn't fixed, by money not being fixed value to the price of gold or something, and it varies, and literally it just goes down and down every year, it causes chaos. But not a lot of people really think about this. It destroys the trust between buyers and sellers, between lenders and borrowers. If you can't have this mutually agreed upon measure of value, how do we really deal with it? Well, we deal with it because the government, mass media, just says this is an illusion. Don't worry. You still have this dollar bill that you have in your hand. And I can still go to the store and buy goods with it, but we know that it doesn't buy as many goods, but we rely on our employers to give us raises or to make sure that our income goes up. But the problem is it doesn't always go up, and it doesn't go up by nearly enough. So back to a little bit of history here. The first coins were agreed upon, and they were in ancient Greece, and they were a mixture of silver and gold, and it was called electrum. And so people loved these. Yeah, people loved these precious metals. It worked really well. Money changed all aspects of life. It made people think in new ways. Markets were created. Life was good. I mean, this is when commerce and markets really flow because money was fixed, and we had these coins that made it really interesting. And then you have the rise of capital, and so from this money, we also then created credit. So the Latin word for trust is called credas, and it's the root word for credit. And so when you take credit, the person that you're lending to is trusting that you're going to pay them back. So this whole system became, we can trust our money, and now we'll trust credit. And this is the system that was created millennia ago, and for the most part is still in working order today. But as I'll basically contend, is corrupted now. But things have been corrupted before. So this sacred trust was eventually violated. One of the first known people to violate this trust was Emperor Nero, who basically introduced debasement, and he would take all the gold coins, he would melt them down, and then he would reissue them with less gold in them. And he would just take the gold and keep it. And he would reissue these coins with 10 to 15% reduction. And so this was the first case of debasement, lowering the value of the currency either by removing gold or silver, or in our case today, printing too much paper money. Wow. So eventually the Dutch, in 1689, they would settle on gold, because there used to be gold, silver, and different types of coins. And they were easier to debase, even though you can debase gold. They would settle on gold, and the world really prospered in this, for a long time. But what would happen is in wars, they would need money to pay for the war. So like in World War I, and the Revolutionary War, all wars, they would just print money and to pay for the wars. But when the wars were over, they would go back onto the gold standard. England, around 1696, wanted to, again, debase the British pound backed by gold. And John Locke, who was a famous philosopher, said no. He said, I'm trying to think here, where's that quote? He said, "It would be a loss, an impoverish of great and innocent part of the people who, having their estates and money, have as much right to make as much of their money as it's worth." So he had the idea that you would arbitrarily change the value of money went against what Locke called the natural law of violating our rights. When you change the value of money, you are stealing property without due process of the law. Yeah. This is what's happening today, folks. Inflation and money printing is stealing our value legally. It's legal theft. Mm-hmm. And it is really the problem of our whole financial system right now, or one of the problems. But in my case, in my view, it's really the main problem here. So money debasement is really one of the reasons that the world, I think, is on the brink of economic crisis. I mean, we are printing so much money now just to pay off the interest on our debt. I mean, we can never pay off our debt. I don't think we ever, at this point, trillions of dollars. We're now paying more on the interest on our debt than we pay twice as much yearly for defense of our country. And American defense is more than any other, spends more on defense than any other country. I mean, it's out of control. How long can it go? The thing is, nobody really knows. Like, all the experts today know this. They're like, this can't be sustained, but nobody knows how long and what other gimmicks they're going to come up with. But to me, it's why I'm in crypto and pursuing gold and real estate, because those, to me, are the hardest assets, the assets that when this thing crashes, it will be more likely for me to keep ownership of. Stocks and bonds and anything in the bank, probably going to be very hard to get at. So I'm going to stop there. That's really just the beginning of this. I've got a whole bunch more that I go into this. I'm actually going to create, a whole video series based on this, but I thought I would just kind of give this a dry run and just kind of introduce this at this point and and talk about it, because again, I think I've mentioned it mostly, but just to wrap it up again, I think this is why
it starts from the beginning. I mean, people need to know. People don't research anything hardly anymore. And
I
they
think
don't even have a clue.
they don't even know. I think people, okay, I'll just say people, but I think this is the way I used to think too. I thought, and I've heard people say this, that inflation was, it was just built into to nature. It was an economic foregone conclusion that you just had to have inflation. It's the way it was. And that you got a cost of living adjustment in work, but the minimum wage forever didn't change forever. So the problem is that this created the gap in wealth equality, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, this is the thing. It's like people with money will invest in assets like real estate, gold, riskier stocks, because those don't debase or devalue like the dollar does. So
Well,
everybody,
they say that they're trying to get rid of the middle class. Like there's only going to be the poor and the rich. There will be no middle.
right? It's just squeezing us slowly and slowly, because we live in the dollar world. We get paid in dollars. A lot of us, if we save anything, we save in dollars. In a savings account. We even invest in our 401ks in stocks, which are denominated in dollars for the most part, right? Mm-hmm. So I will in the next version of this, I'll talk more about gold again, and why I think we should go back to a gold standard, because they won't be able to debase. They won't be able to print us more. Now, the problem with that is what the Federal Reserve does is it was set up to monkey with the economy and to change interest rates, as we've seen. I mean, most of us now are living right in the middle, or we've seen this where Jay Powell and the Fed, inflation went really up, was going up, and they jacked interest rates up, and we're all living that now with, it's hard to get a loan for a house. It's, more expensive to get a loan, but it's also messing with the banks. I mean, they are finding it hard to deal with these high interest rates. So banks are trying to cut back. And so if they're not loaning as much, then the economy kind of slows. That's what Jay Powell wanted to do, is to slow the economy down. So the Fed, kind of revs up and slows down the economy. And I used to think, oh, that's the way it's done. Well, it wasn't. Before we were off the gold standard, they couldn't really do that. They could do it a little bit, but they couldn't print a bunch of money because everything was tied to gold. They had to buy more gold if they were going to print more money. Now they don't have to do that. In 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard, and from then we just print money like crazy. Now, again, like I mentioned, that happened before. During wars, we would go off the gold standard, print money, but we'd always come back to the gold standard afterwards. But now it's just like, will we ever? I don't know. I think we probably should. Or maybe, and I don't know this, we'll explore this more next time, but maybe Bitcoin could be, it's a digital gold. Maybe we should, tie the dollar to a Bitcoin. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the American dream is slipping away.
It is.
Exactly what your tagline says, your title. The American dream that we were sold in the 50s, right? That it was in the 50s that we sold this whole, you need to have a house with the white picket fence, a dog, a cat, 2.5 kids.
Right.
So we were sold something that our kids right now can't, they don't even want, actually. Like, they don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? Because it's so expensive, and it's being pictured. The World Economic Forum is saying you don't want to own a house, and so our kids are buying into us. I think we still know that we would like to. We would like to own our property, but it's hard.
You
right
and I
now.
have talked about this real estate investment stuff. Even the real estate investors are telling you not to own a property, which is crazy, considering they're real estate investors.
Yeah, if they're trying to make the best use of their money right now, what can they do?
Even they're saying, don't buy a house and pay it off. Like, if you're going to buy a house, use it as leverage for for other purchases of real estate versus that, right? So it's an interesting concept that's being, I've heard it 3 times from 3 different peoples on an Instagram reel this week. So that is what's being sold now. So it's even interesting that it's touching, just even our social media on what's being sold. Like, don't own anything, just rent and then buy other people's stuff, use other people's money, and then sell it and make money. So
Yeah, and I think it's
kind of
I think it's a convoluted scenario right now
not
because
good. And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, my kids, they want to buy a house, and right now they're priced out. Like they're at the top of their,
yeah.
they can afford, and it's doing them a disservice.
Well, I think it's convoluted because ultimately in a normal given economic society we want to own. It's been a tenet of life in America forever to own.
Right, and if you listen to anybody that saves money or tells you to save money, they say get a savings account, a 401k, do all the traditional stuff, and how's that going?
That's why I'm trying to blow the horn, blow the whistle on this because it's still being talked about. That's like old school right now. Given the nature of the economy, you're losing if you're in the stock market unless you picking the top stocks like Nvidia. I mean, who knew, right? They're up 1,000%. But overall, what they used to tell you is right. Put it into a fund, and the S&P, will grow over the years. I just looked at mine yesterday. My 401k, which is still in this mixture of stocks and bonds, and it's like 3%. It's like 3%. I mean,
your savings and your 401k is not matching the inflation. So when it doesn't match and it's off balance, you're never going to be ahead. Just saying. And if people don't wake up to that fact.
Yeah, the first part is to wake up to that. The second part, like my crypto portfolio is up a lot, like 30 to 50%, basically. The problem is with crypto, and I'll be honest with this, is that it takes time to wrap your head around it. You've got to take the time to educate yourself, because if you just jump into crypto like, oh, well, I got to do something, you'll probably lose there too. So again, I try to help educate people on crypto, but it is a way to completely hedge against where we are with inflation and debasement. But you gotta go slow, and you gotta kind of know what you're doing. But in my case, I think you need to do something. So, anyways, so that's what we got for that. Let us move on to a brand new topic. Moving on. Let's see.
A heated discussion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, very good. Literally. Very good. All right, let's see. What do we got? What do we got here? Okay. We're sharing now. Go ahead.
So, my topic is about global warming, or AKA climate change. So, when did they change the tagline of that? I don't know.
I think it's they still use them both.
The vice president for Clinton was, do you remember?
Gore.
Yes, Al Gore. He was the first one starting to talk about global warming, climate change. And so what's unfortunate about that is that he is the one who, was trying to make, bring it to the House and Congress to talk about it and implement some plans at the time. But because he is a certain political party, now it's politicized. Okay.
Yeah.
I think his intentions were good, honestly, to start. Okay. I'm just going to say that, to start. I think that there is a problem. I think that humans do have something to do with it. And I do think that we need to do some things to change it. I don't 100% believe in the way that they want to implement the programs to change it, but I do agree that something has to happen. So if you look at it, it is the total 100% the truth that the climate has changed, that it has gotten warmer. Now, here's where you as a person and yourself need to do some research. You need to look into history, world history, all history, and go, has this happened before on the earth? Yes, it has. Did we have fossil fuels that were making pollution then? No, we did not. So here is that is is the theory on that. I think I was betting that Scott would be surprised where I stood on this, because I think he thought I was oppositional possibly about it, possibly. But the truth is, our pollution has caused a reaction in our weather patterns, no doubt about it. So I don't think, I think there is something that we need to do. I don't think I need to go spray paint Stonehenge. I mean, that's not really, I, just, I don't think that's going to help.
Probably not.
I mean, because if you think about the spray paint can that is supposed to be aerosol and is supposed to hurt the ozone layer, that made no sense at all. Now, unless I don't know what type of aerosol can they used, because I could be wrong. Maybe it was something naturally they created. I am interested to find out now that I brought that up.
Go research that.
I'll research that. So should you. What is it that we can do to, what did they say? Our footprint. What can we do to
reduce our footprint, our carbon footprint?
Yeah, our carbon footprint. Now, do I agree with that? I do, actually.
Yeah.
I do agree that there are some environmental things that are being done that we have polluted in the industrial revolution, which we talked about on this show before already. That's when it started. All of these things are coming, years later, that there's medical problems with people that inhaled fumes from, these chemicals that they used and mixed and, all of these things. So there's a big, huge impact. It isn't just on your carbon footprint, it's on your health, your physical health. So this is a problem. There is an issue, and I think we need to do some things about it. Do I think that the world governments need to come up with a plan to control it and us along with it? Absolutely not. I do not think we should put it in the hands of our government. I don't.
No.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I think technology, here's a theory that I kind of like, and that is, we probably have the technology to create some form of like pollutionless energy, some sort of fission, some sort of nuclear type energy that is safe and so on. But here's the thing: if we sort of believe that this global elite sort of has an agenda and they want to stay on top of it, we know that energy in any form, so oil, coal, natural gas, all of it is big business, big money. Very good chance that they are suppressing and holding back the technologies that could solve this, because there's so much money being made in energy production, and they can talk outside of one ear and say, like, we need to work on this and have the global initiatives, greenhouse initiatives. On the other hand, we're really making a lot of money with all this oil and coal and so on. So I don't know the answer exactly, but this is very typical of a lot of shit that goes on. It's like, one narrative over here, but they're doing something completely different.
Right here where I'm at in Virginia, off the coast, they're putting those big wind turbines in, just like they have out there in Kansas, the big, huge things. It's funny. At night, they're kind of creepy looking. They look like they're about walking the earth,
Oh, yeah.
Those big wind turbines. But those are supposed to be helping with the sourcing of energy. And so but now the PETA folks don't want those out there in the ocean.
Do they kill birds or something?
It's going to kill the wildlife.
Kill the wildlife? Yeah.
Kill marine animals. So
it's not one thing, it's another. It's not one thing.
That's right.
It's another. The thing about wind, I actually studied this a little bit because of crypto mining and energy. And one of the interesting things about wind and solar are they're great. They are great sources of energy. The problem is they're they only produce a small amount compared to the energy needed for like big electrical grids, and they're used. But the way these grids do it is that they use some of that, and then they have their coal, and then they have dams and hydro, and then you've got nuclear, and they try to use all of them. But the problem is that because these green energies only produce a little amount, they're just not really efficient. They cost a lot to build. Like to put all those big wind turbines in, it costs a lot of money, and they don't produce a lot of energy. So we've just got to get, like, it's a good thing, but it's not solving the problem.
It's like with the solar panels. So I have a friend who has solar panels, and she can use, she looks at her energy bill, and they actually give her money back. Like the energy company actually gives her money.
Right. She sends her excess power to them. And I think that's interesting. Personally, like individual houses, I think it can help individually do that. It's great. It can give you power, and then you get a little money back. I think that's good. We'd have to proliferate that so it was across everybody, because it's very, very small, the people that do that. And the big wind turbines and solar farms or whatever, those are the ones that just, they don't make enough energy. And so they cost a lot to put in there. So all of this is great. All of this is good ideas. And I agree with you. I think we need to be doing all of this kind of stuff. But I also think that I really been thinking about this for years about, okay, knowing that history, we've had temperatures as warm as this and warmer, and it's a natural sort of cycle of the earth, but we've never had that on top of having humans creating all of the carbon and whatever that we do. So the scary part is that when people used to be able to say it's either this or this, like we either are creating all of the greenhouse gases and we're causing all of the overheating. No, it's like it's going to overheat on its own, but we add in just a fraction, just a half a degree or degree. That's where the oceans and can. So I do think that we're contributing to it, but it used to be the argument it's either all or nothing. It's a combo, I think, is what you're trying to say.
If you like a couple, I don't know, last year when they were talking about cows, you shouldn't have a bunch of
shouldn't
cows.
Fart. They fart.
Yeah. I mean, that
methane.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
cow poop.
Cows have been here a long time. They've been here a long time.
Buffalo.
A long time before we were. So just saying. I mean, they've been here, and they did not cause the climate change.
Right.
And that's the problem with climate change, is that there's so many extremes. Like you've got the conspiracy theory people over here going, there's no such thing. And then you got the political people over here going, oh, yes, it's destroying. We have to control every bit of this.
Right.
And that's just another government overreach of trying to control things. And
another thing to throw in here, just thought of is electric cars. And,
that flopped, man.
The big push. Well, I think it has flopped. I think there's still hope for it. I actually do. I'm a big believer in it.
This is what happened. The dealerships were losing money every month. Those electric cars were still sitting on their lot. They lost money.
Well, the whole thing is
what they did. They halted production of them, and they just stopped production because they're like, okay, people aren't buying them.
Except for Tesla.
We're not buying them. We're not buying them.
I'm a big Tesla fan.
Because do you have one?
No, but they're actually cheaper now. They're actually have come down in price. I mean, a lot of people still think they're very expensive. You can get them for the price of a Toyota now.
But that's what I'm saying. Well, remember the Prius was the first hybrid out there. The Toyota Prius a long time ago. I remember because people I worked for, they got Priuses because they were like, we're saving the environment. And I remember them saying that. We're helping to save the environment.
Oh,
I have a hybrid. Mine turns off at a light.
Yeah. A lot of people, hybrids are kind of standard now with new cars, at least.
Here's the thing is you can be an extremist in this, no doubt. You can be having
you can go out on the golf course on the 18th hole.
The masterpieces. And it's funny. I was just talking to a friend at lunch and we were talking about this, and and they're just trying to bring like we think these things are so, whoa, that's a masterpiece art, and they're saying, how come this art is more important than our environment? And
Oh,
I have to agree with that. I mean, I kind of agree with that. I know that's crazy, and I know people be like, "Really, Sandy, you believe that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually." Like an artist that did, a painting, 100 years ago, is that more important than our polluted environment right now?
I mean,
Like,
it's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, and the thing is that most people can't afford that kind of stuff. So the rich people, they're going to do what they want to do anyways. A lot of them are contributing to some research and so on. I just think that there's a lot of variables to that. I'm
right.
a
Well,
golf fan,
I
so
have some videos. I
if
have
you
some
watched,
videos.
okay, if you watched golf, they came back and they stormed the 18th green at the final hole of the golf tournament last week, and basically sprayed painted the green and everything. They had shirts that said, "Don't play golf on a planet or whatever." It's like, no golf. Don't golf on this earth that you're destroying. Go.
No warning on how to save the planet from the climate crisis. In a major report, it says the world is miles off doing what it needs to do for a livable future. So let's take a look.
In short, our world needs climate action on all fronts, everything, everywhere, all at once.
The IPCC is the UN's climate science body, and what it says matters. It forms the basis of government policy all around the world, and this is the last report until the end of the decade. So it says the climate crisis is unequivocally driven by humans, mostly from burning fossil fuels which are wrecking the planet. And it says the impacts are much worse than we thought. Almost half the global population live in areas which are highly vulnerable to climate change. To stop the worst, we need to cut emissions by nearly half by 2030. But at the moment, they're still rising. Good news is that the report says the solutions are here and they're affordable, but says that politicians around the world need to act.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with that. I
Yeah.
agree with that. I may not agree the way that they're going to do it, though. That's what we need to keep an eye on. So I mean, that's what's concerning is the way that they want to do it. So anyway, let's see. Stop share. Okay. So that was one of the videos that I wanted to show. I think that this needs a part 2 as well.
Yeah.
Because we can get it further into the policies on how they want to do it, what they want to do worldwide. And like
Okay.
he said, this is their last meeting, for a while. So I want to research that just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it can tie into the World Economic Forum, and they're, because they're pushing a lot of this. And again, for the most part, I'm not a fan of the World Economic Forum and these global elites kind of pushing their agenda. And climate change is a big one on theirs. So we need to figure out what their plans are. I mean, they've said these things like, we're going to get rid of cows and, blah, blah, blah. So we need to have some realistic stuff. And so they don't take away our freedoms. But yeah, I think everyone generally would agree about
is it
climate.
Another way to funnel our money elsewhere.
Yeah, right.
That is the risk.
Right.
Everybody, oh yeah, well, I want to help with climate change. Here's my money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So we've got to keep our eye on that. We have to keep our eye on that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted it also is an opener because you could talk about so many different things and so many different companies, but we just touched the surface on it. And just like your topic, we want to revisit this one because there will be new developments, no doubt about it. Especially since it's been a hot May, they're saying, "See, it's been so hot this May. It's the hottest May that ever was." And
it's crazy. The whole Northeast, in Connecticut and whatever, in June and May. And yeah, I mean, it is crazy. And we can all see it. We can all see it. The forest fires out here in the West, we can all see it. So we can all agree that something needs to be done, but let's just not get carried away and kill all of our cows and, make everything electric when, we still got to live. We still got to, do this right. So let's be smart about it. And let's just not be fooled by the narratives by the global elites and the mainstream media. Right. So I think that's the biggest takeaway. It's always the takeaway on our show. We want to bring these topics up and, see what you guys have to think and let us know in the comments. What do you think about global warming? What do you think about, are you as well off
Climate
as
change.
your
Not
parents?
global warming anymore. It's climate change.
Climate change.
They changed the words. So anyway, well, thank you all for joining us today. Mugs up to you.
Thanks, everybody.
Up.
We'll see you next time.
That did not have a carbon footprint, I swear.
Okay. Disclaimer. Bye.